he had returned to his roots in traditional makeup techniques. To those who thought of him as Mr. Monster, he proved he was also a master of human makeups. One reason for the change was that computer imagery had taken a bite out of the makeup business.
There's a lot less rubber monsters being made now than there used to be. I mean, the decisions are being made to do them digitally instead of out of rubber and metal and so on.
Too constrictive. I can't even fold my arms.
Gee, Mr. Lugosi, I've never had any complaints.
This is the most uncomfortable coffin I've ever been in.
Baker's virtuosity in human makeups is evident in the film Ed Wood. Prosthetic appliances sculpted by Rick uncannily transform actor Martin Landau into Bela Lugosi. Mentor Dick Smith applauds Rick's approach.
The main problem is that he has a longer face than Bela Lugosi. So what do you do? How do you compromise and suggest the character without piling on thick foam latex? You don't want to do that. So the genius in creating this makeup is in that selection, that compromise that you make to suggest the character realistically without inhibiting the actor's expressions and all the rest of it.
I actually have some of the pieces here. So it was basically a nose appliance like this, a chin appliance because Bela had this little cleft in his chin. It made Martin's ears much larger because Bela's ears were larger. It had a lower lip appliance and an upper lip appliance, and this appliance basically covered the fullness of his upper lip.
I'm embarking on another bus and truck tour of Dracula, 12 cities in 10 days, if that's conceivable.
For his work in Ed Wood, Baker captured his third Oscar.
Professor, are you asking me out on a date?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Rick tackled one of his most challenging assignments with The Nutty Professor. The makeup had to carry the movie because the lead character was entirely a makeup artist's creation. Director Tom Shadyac.
Sherman Clump had to be a real person because we were doing something that had not been done in my memory in films, which is starting with a makeup job as your real character, not like Mrs. Doubtfire, not like Tootsie, where you know it's a makeup job.
With appliances and body padding, Rick turned Eddie Murphy into a 450-pound chemistry teacher. One of the chief innovations in the makeup was to put water-filled bladders inside foam appliances to achieve a more realistic fat look.
What we did differently in this was that we cored out the whole entire area under his neck so that it was very thin and hollow. It was, less than a quarter of an inch thickness. And then we filled that with liquid. We had a liquid-filled bladder in that area so that it had weight to it and it would jiggle around.
In addition, inflatable bladders were used to accomplish some of the effects during transformation scenes.
Yeah, I give it up. That part, it's over.
It ain't over to the fat Professor Singh!
Professor Clump would go from thin to fat and fat to thin. We did these latex bladders that were glued onto Eddie's face, and then a very thin foam rubber piece was put on top of that, and then we could inflate the bladder underneath, which I'll demonstrate for you here in a second, which would make Eddie's face blow up to Professor Clump proportions, and then we could release it and it would go back down. So by inflating air into this bladder, it would get big, and then when we release the air, it comes out.
If there is a signature to Rick's human character makeups, it's that the technique is invisible, and that seamlessness is a product of his fanatical perfectionism.
I will stay up all night working on sculptures and sometimes question myself, why am I doing this? And who is going to know the difference? Very few people in the audience that are watching this movie are going to know that, that all these pores were hand sculpted, and then it's like, I'll know, and that's why I do it.
Baker's inspired artistry in The Nutty Professor earned him his fourth Oscar. The film shines not only due to Rick's perfectionism, but also his openness to new ideas. The movie marked the first time his makeup was used in conjunction with computer imagery. The transformation scenes marry Rick's makeup effects to the digital effects which he helped design.
We would go from Eddie with no makeup on, real quick morph to Eddie with an appliance that had big bladders under it that would blow up.
Computer effects may have taken away some of his work, but Rick Baker has enthusiastically joined the digital revolution.
I don't feel threatened by it, though. I'm very excited by that. that the fact that we have another tool to work with, something that's not just rubber and molds, you know, another way to create an effect.
Next, on Masters of Fantasy, Britt Baker brings to life a menagerie of aliens for the blockbuster Men in Black.
We must all return to cryogenic sleep.